We all have our own idea of a dream home, but these days the chances of buying it can seem remote.
Our house is half the size and half the amount.
But what if you really need more space?
We use this as a sitting room, a dining room, a kitchen. It just simply doesn't work anymore with a family.
It is possible to double the size of your house for half the cost of moving to your dream house. If you follow some basic rules, you can get more space without breaking the bank and turn a much lesser home into the home of your dreams. All this area here will go out into the garden. It's not easy. With redundancy looming,
If I can't get another job, then we probably would need to sell the property.
that's scary times.
We're going to be those people that ignored the expert.
I think you ignore her advice at your peril.
But if you do it right, you can end up with a home of your dreams at a price you can afford. Gosh, how wonderful. This really is a magnificent open plan space. Britain's homeowners, you need not be content with what you've got. You can transform an ordinary home into the home of your dreams for a fraction of the price. If you can't afford your dream house in the location you really want, you do have two options. You can buy a house that works really well on the inside, but the shell just doesn't work, or buy something where the shell works really well, but the inside doesn't work. On this show, I'm with two homeowners whose properties aren't working for them inside or out, but who dream of transforming them into extraordinary homes. Fantastic, look at that. But they're both challenging projects for different reasons. If you were purist, you'd be horrified.
We're obviously not.
In Liverpool, Vicky Homestock dreams of turning a Grade 2 listed Windmill into a luxury designer home.
And that's going to be like a whole wall of glass doors.
Okay. But first, I'm on my way to Surrey to meet the Allens. They want to massively increase the size of their 4-bedroom house.
Do you not have a joke for the meal?
Yes, children have got it.
That's why they end up getting the sitting room and we end up getting relegated to the kitchen.
Personnel manager Stuart Allen and his wife Fiona bought this house 10 years ago.
The house is probably the ugliest house in the road.
I think we had to really use our imagination when we first looked at the property.
The 1970s octagonal tiles, but we first saw them and we thought, OK.
They've been saving hard to give the place a facelift ever since they moved in. And with 2 growing daughters, like lots of families, they've become desperate for more space.
I'm outnumbered, sort of 3-1 in terms of girls to boys. There's only one winner there.
Can I see your face?
No.
They're all a bit fed up with sharing the only bathroom.
I normally got to wait for ages before I can get any room.
And it's not just the kids who are dying to get their own space.
Yeah. I messed up again, sorry guys.
But extra space costs dearly in this affluent area where house prices are sky high. Fiona and Stuart are taking me just down the road from their house to their dream home. A bigger, detached house with period features and a really attractive exterior. This is the sort of house you'd ideally like.
That's the sort of thing.
It's a pretty looking house, isn't it? It has a nice feel to it.
It's very much the kind of thing that we'd be looking for. You know, it's still really not affordable.
How much do you reckon your property's worth at the moment?
It's about 600,000 at the moment.
Whereas their dream house is on the market for £950,000. So Fiona and Stuart would need to find another £400,000 to move here. How much money have you got?
The budget is 180,000.
OK. So you're hoping to get twice as much house and only spend £180,000 achieving that?
That's the plan.
Yes. So to buy their dream home, they'd have to spend £400,000, and they have less than half that money. Right now, the reality is their house will need a lot of hard work and imagination. Downstairs, there's a living room, a cramped hallway, a kitchen and a loo. Upstairs, there are 3 good-sized bedrooms and a boxy fourth, but just 1 family bathroom. At the moment, not many people would give this exterior a second glance.
I think a lot of people really struggle with imagining how a building would look if it had different windows and different doors and different porch and different cladding on the outside, because it can be really dramatic, the difference. There's something magic you could do with this house.
There's serious magic needed inside too, where the problems are not only cosmetic.
It's quite sort of constricted, isn't it, this hallway? Feels a little bit like walking the back door.
If you get, 4 or 5 people coming in at the same time, we have to then sort of spill out into the kitchen.
Yeah, you need to clear the space quickly, don't you? This isn't nowhere to hang coats or put any boots or anything like that.
Yes, it's a bit of a squeeze.
Yes.
Literally come in, go to the loo, go to the kitchen, or go upstairs, and that's it.
That's right.
Yes.
There is no love lost between the only living space and the 4 members of the family who share it.
Talk me through why you don't like it, this room.
It's quite a cold room. I suppose the size of the windows and it's not very well insulated.
Fine, it's a perfectly nice-sized room. It just is a little bit bland, dare I say it?
There's no focal point in this room. So, yes, it's just a box, really.
So it's a cold, damp box that you all share.
Pretty much. That's probably not an estate agent version, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
And some gentle parental bribery is at work here too.
We've been bugged by our eldest daughter in particular about getting a gerbil. And I think Fee made the mistake of saying, when we get the extension done, you can have a gerbil.
So you're extending the house to fit a gerbil?
That's the main reason why we're doing it. Expensive gerbil.
Very expensive gerbil.
But it's not just the kids who want some space for their hobbies.
So this is your study, is it?
Yes, this shows how the balance of power works in the house. The smallest room in the house is my room. And that's something that's got to change. So,
so you're feeling a bit put upon?
Yes.
And so what do you do in here?
At the moment, I've got acoustic guitar here. I've got my bass guitar, an amp in my cupboard in the bedroom.
For boys' den here, really?
A little bit of a den, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but you want all your toys in here with you?
That'd be good.
Oh, yes!
Fiona and Stuart's budget of £180,000 sounds like a lot of cash. But it will be very tight indeed to make their house twice the size and transform both the inside and the outside so dramatically. And their preferred look for the exterior doesn't come cheap.
The outside is one of our main issues, was that, we didn't like the look of the house at all.
How do you picture it in your head?
I think the style that we were looking for is a New England type style.
My sister lives in Canada and we've seen properties similar to that, and we thought, actually, we'd quite like to have one here.
If you want a traditional look but you're building a new house, it works really well.
The New England look they like is inspired by the early colonies around Cape Cod. People used wooden weatherboarding to protect their homes against the stormy weather and kept interiors clean and simple because resources were limited. It's a great look, but not as easy to achieve or as cheap as you might think.
If you're going to go New England, you need to go for it. You do need to make sure that the detailing is absolutely spot on. I sort of think what you do, you need to make sure you do right and not try and scrimp and save.
Everything that we've allocated is already in the budget, so anything further, I think, will be a bit of a tricky one.
If you only go halfway, it could end up looking a bit like a garden shed. Not a good look for a new house you spent a fortune on.
It's not the look we're going for.
Done well, this could be such an exciting transformation of the exterior. Downstairs, they're planning a single-storey wraparound extension. This will give the girls a playroom and Fiona a utility room, as well as a kitchen diner with doors onto the garden. On the front, a double-height addition will get rid of the boxy outline, provide Stuart with a man cave, and add a master ensuite upstairs. But I'm particularly worried about the exterior, as compromise could spell disaster.
The danger is, if they don't see it through, I think it might just look like a sort of slightly peculiar 1970s house with plastic windows and a bit of clapboarding on the outside.
The difficulty we're going to have is that it's not her money. There may be certain things that we decide to go with and we say we'll make sacrifices elsewhere. And there may be other things that we say, we'd love to do it, but we just can't afford it.
I know.
While the Allens mull things over, I'm on my way to Liverpool to meet yoga teacher Vicky Holmstock.
I really like unique buildings, and I didn't ever want to have like a barrack-style home.
Over the last 10 years, Vicky renovated 8 flats. And filled with confidence, she took the plunge and bought this derelict Grade 2 listed windmill.
For me, the Windmill is definitely my dream home. I want to be able to have amazing parties here. I think it would be an amazing place to bring my children up, and they can pretend to be Rapunzel in the tower.
Vicky paid £150,000 for her windmill 4 years ago. A similar sized 3-bedroom house round here would have cost her around £600,000. So she would need to find over £450,000 to move to a ready-made house. But she only has £100,000. She says it's her dream home, but the last 4 years have been a nightmare for romantic Vicky.
I knew that it was listed and therefore the planning might be a little bit more tricky, but then I found out that lots of it was condemned, and so that wasn't ideal.
Endless toing and froing with the local authority and 4 architects later, and things are still not finalised with the planning department. And 4 years on, she's still living in a caravan.
It does feel a bit like I'm jinxed. At some stages, just think, come on, give me a break.
Even Vicky's most ardent supporter, Mum Ruth, is tiring of the ordeal.
I've kind of used to go around boasting about the windmill, saying, oh, my daughter's got a windmill. Now I'm like, don't mention the windmill.
I'm not surprised Vicky took this on because it's such an exciting and unusual building. But restoring unusual historic buildings comes with a host of problems. I just hope she's up for the challenge.
It's clear on first glance that the windmill is a monster of a project, especially with only £100,000. It's 81 feet tall with 7 floors, increasing in size towards the bottom. There's also a small ground floor extension. But at the moment, it's windowless, damp and derelict. Vicky must resolve matters with the local authorities so she can begin her building work. But it's important to clarify just what the various issues are.
So was it originally rendered?
It had a concrete render on. In the process of re-rendering the building, they insisted it be a lime render, which we all agreed was the sensible solution. And so I had to pay extra because they wanted it white.
That problem has been resolved, but there are still issues with this wall.
Are you going to demolish this and just rebuild it?
This is the bit the council originally said I had to knock down, and then I found out it's been there for 200 years.
There is also debate over the precise detailing of the windows she can install.
They want the glazing bars to be 25 mils or less, which means I can't put a double glazed unit in.
Local authorities vary dramatically on their opinion and practice for listed buildings, but I'm not sure Vicky knew what she was taking on here, and she's certainly in denial about how much there is to do.
If you took each floor and laid them out like a bungalow, you've just got a bit of plastering and wiring to do.
Just a tosh and a splosh, that'll be fine.
Getting Vicky to face facts could be a bit of a challenge. But it is a worthwhile fight. Towers, windmills and lighthouses can make astonishing homes. Panoramic views, gorgeous original features and amazing light make these houses truly special. But their design quirks, round rooms, thick walls and lots of stairs also make conversions costly and time-consuming. In Surrey, Fiona Allen is project managing with no previous experience, and the builders have arrived.
It's D-Day. And here we go. I don't think I'm going to get a lot of sleep.
Builder Kevin and his team need to remove this 3-metre high bank so they can get equipment on and off site.
Day one, we're taking the back out.
But then 2 unexpected visitors from the council arrive.
Basically, you're in breach of conditions. You should be 8 metres off that tree.
The problem is this beech tree. It has a tree preservation order on it, and Fiona's planning permission had a condition to say that its roots had to be protected.
And there's the fact that there's no protection there whatsoever, the tree's possibly already been damaged.
Breaching a tree preservation order can carry a fine of up to £20,000. This could be a costly mistake for Fiona and Stuart. They have no contingency in their budget. And there's more bad news to come.
Unfortunately, being made redundant.
That's scary times.
The timing could be better.
I'm with two home improvers aiming to turn unusual properties into dream homes at a fraction of the cost of buying one.
In Liverpool, Vicky's heart has completely swept aside any practical thinking.
I just knew immediately, straight away, that I had to have it, that this was going to be my dream home.
And in Surrey, the Allens are spending £180,000 hoping to transform their boxy 70s house. They want to give it a beautiful New England exterior, and they're hoping to save a massive £220,000 by not moving. It's not started well. They have unwittingly breached a tree preservation order and could face a £20,000 fine.
As far as we're concerned, we have confirmation from Surrey County Council that we have the authority to remove the bank as long as we keep this tree, which is what we've done.
First-time project manager Fiona has had a scary 3 weeks waiting for the council's decision.
Hello, it's me. Just heard from the council. They're not going to do anything with the tree, and so, yeah, good news. Something that we were obviously rather concerned about, and very glad that it's all over now.
A scary moment for the Allens. They can't afford to make any more mistakes like this one. In Liverpool, this derelict £150,000 windmill is Vicky Homestock's dream home. Although it doesn't look that dreamy at the moment, she has designer plans for it.
How are you going to transform this into your dream home? What's your vision for it?
All of this is going to be hard landscaping, and I want this to be my barbecue area, really nice seating. Thought it would be really nice to put a heated bath in. This is going to be the kitchen. It's going to be a vaulted ceiling with chandeliers coming down, and then that's going to be like a whole wall of glass doors that will open with a jacuzzi out there.
Okay.
I can see she's got the vision.
From downstairs, you'll see up.
But I'm starting to wonder about her commitment to this huge project. Her current plans give Vicky 5 luxurious floors. On the ground floor, she's planning a kitchen extension and a self-contained flat to one side of the windmill. Inside, there'll be a double-height dining room and a yoga studio, and 2 more bedrooms on the floors above. But Vicky's biggest problem now is damp and decay.
The reality is I would concentrate on getting the windows in, getting the doors in, getting the heating on and getting it ventilated. You need to heat the inside, ventilate it, and slowly the walls will start to dry up.
And I have more bad news.
Do you think £100,000 could finish this?
I don't think you're going to get this finished for your budget.
Really?
But I do think that you can get it watertight, dry, with services in.
Personally, I don't think £100,000 will get her a finished home. But it can get her out of the woods if she starts to focus on practicalities.
This is a cautionary tale. If you have a project that seems overwhelming and bogged down with problems, you need to focus on achievable goals. For Vicky, the problem isn't getting finished, it's getting started at all.
If you're working on a derelict building like Vicky's, get watertight. Get a roof on and windows in so the weather can't do any more damage. Get advice from a qualified structural engineer. Support walls and floors with scaffolding and underpinning to prevent further collapse. And add a contingency of at least 25% to your build budget. For more information about this show or extending a house, check out my scrapbook at channel4.com/Sarah. Over in Surrey, Fiona is trying to project manage.
It's coming up really quickly, and I wasn't expecting it to be quite so quick.
The build is a huge challenge that needs to be dealt with carefully, and hundreds of decisions need to be made very quickly.
I'll get you a sample of what the fascia is going to look like. Get the electricians here to do the first fix. I've got some samples coming for the guttering as well. Do you want fully glazed doors in those or solid doors?
To be honest, I don't find that particularly exciting. Things like the interior is more of my bag.
The responsibilities of a project manager are wide and varied, but ultimately the smooth running and completion of a site rests with them. This can be a much harder role than you imagine, as it means you need to be across every single element of the build. It takes knowledge and experience, so if you don't have the knowledge and confidence, it's well worth outsourcing this role. If you're employing a project manager, you should ask them for a full schedule of works, including dates when you'll need to supply extras like kitchen and bathroom fittings, a breakdown of all costs so you can economise if necessary, and a materials list so that you can see what is budgeted as part of the build and what will be charged on top. Fiona is lucky. She has a good and communicative builder, the key ingredient to make up for her inexperience.
So what's the plan for the rest of the week or couple of weeks?
Once we've got the roof done, we'll be inside, we'll open up that window, we'll get the partition and that up.
The biggest area of the downstairs conversion is the kitchen. Fiona is keen to get the right one.
So if money was no object, I'd have a bespoke kitchen, lovely worktops and a large island.
But this kind of handmade finish doesn't come cheap.
I think you'd be looking between 20 to 22 plus for that.
I didn't quite realise, how much they are, some of these kitchens, so I don't know. Don't know what we're going to do.
We've got to find a cheaper solution quickly before it causes delays.
We need a plan of the kitchen quite soon so that we can get electrics in, we can get plumbing in, we can get heating in, because we can't do any of those until we know where any of the units go.
But to avoid further delays, which could have a huge impact on the budget, I've got an idea. So I'm showing them one way to get the kitchen they want for less.
So this is the kitchen. What do you think?
Excellent. No, that looks great.
It looks like the £30,000 kitchen Fiona has dreamt of, but it's not.
There's lots and lots of things here that I think might enable you to bring the price of your kitchen right down. There is this very reclaimed feel to this kitchen.
In fact, most of this kitchen is second-hand.
Yeah, the sink is lovely, isn't it, don't you think?
Yes, it's lovely.
Sourced through reclamation yards, antique shops and online, the kind of recycling that's good for the pocket and the planet.
The dresser here and the cupboard here, they repainted to match. This is old reclaimed wood. The cupboards around the corner, these are old wine boxes that they turned into a cupboard. And this under here, these were made out of reclaimed bits of wood. Not much money has been spent. This is teak, which is really very inexpensive. With a decent joiner, you could cobble together a really pretty amazing kitchen.
There are lots of ways to save money on your kitchen. Buy second-hand. You can find bespoke and display kitchens for sale online for a fraction of their original cost. Keep your units, but replace just the worktops and doors to freshen up the kitchen. Mix and match your units, then paint them to unify the look.
Do you think you have put a lot of effort into sourcing the kitchen so far?
I suppose we've gone for looking at different companies rather than looking elsewhere outside of the actual kitchen companies themselves.
Part of the challenge, if we were to go this route, is having the vision and the creativity to be able to spot that piece of furniture that looked fantastic.
I'm hoping they give it a go. Using your creativity can save you money, and if they buy a cheaper off-the-shelf kitchen instead, they may compromise on quality and really regret it. In Liverpool, progress with yoga teacher Vicky is a disaster.
Exhale, palms together.
After 2 months, she hasn't done an awful lot. Little seems to have changed at the Windmill.
How's it going there?
Well, it hasn't exactly been going.
And so has anything actually happened to the building itself?
Temporary windows in to try and seal it.
OK, so you've put temporary windows in?
Yeah.
But she still hasn't got matters resolved with the planning department. If she doesn't, she can wave goodbye to her dreams and her £150,000 investment.
I just wonder if a meeting with everybody where you say, right, we want to resolve these issues and then move forward may be a good idea. There's a history here that almost needs to be sort of put to bed.
A few days on, and finally some action. Vicky goes ahead and arranges a face-to-face meeting at the council.
I think the meeting was quite positive.
Yeah, it was.
Vicky and her builder Carl are granted permission to retain a disputed wall and build the extension which will house her kitchen.
We have got permission for the wall, and that's all I was interested in.
Yeah.
I believe it'll be okay.
Now she's cleared this hurdle, surely she must go headlong into making the windmill watertight before it literally starts rotting away. But after 2 more months have passed, there is still little sign of progress. Vicky isn't here. Instead, she's celebrating her 30th birthday in Ibiza.
I don't regret coming away, but when I'm lying around the pool reading a trashy book, I'm really a bit annoyed that I'm not at home to push things forwards.
Possibly not the best time for a holiday.
The only way to complete a build like Vicky's is to drive it forward relentlessly, because it won't happen on its own. It may feel like a thankless task, but if you don't treat it like a job in itself, you will end up treading water and going nowhere indefinitely.
And it's not that big a job, but I know I keep saying it and nobody thinks that that's the truth.
I think action must be taken. Vicky needs to get someone experienced and practical to even stand a chance of saving the windmill and protecting her investment, let alone having a beautiful home. In Surrey, things couldn't be more different. After 11 weeks, Fiona's become more confident and decisive, working effectively with her builder.
Kevin, is the guttering aluminium?
Aluminium, yeah.
The huge front and rear extensions are almost built, and it's fully watertight, with roof and windows in place. I can't wait to see how the build is progressing.
Hi. Hello, how are you?
Hi, good, thanks.
Good, good. Hello. This is looking amazing. And how have you found project managing?
It's been, I mean, Kevin's been brilliant. He's very, he's been doing it for 30 years or so.
So would you say that you haven't really project managed, or has he?
Fiona and Stuart have saved money by compromising on materials, choosing new PVC windows and fibreboard cladding rather than more expensive and traditional timber. This saved them £20,000.
It does look great. It's a bit of a shame they're not wooden windows. They're a really good copy of wooden windows. There's a really nice detail on them. If you were a purist, you'd be horrified, but...
No,
we're obviously not.
The outside is making progress, but I still think there are problems with what they're proposing to do inside. The kitchen will sit in the middle of the house, leading from the hall to the back extension. But whenever you extend, you need to make sure that the new rooms don't feel bolted on. By sticking a QR code on the back wall before it's knocked down, I can show them what the new space will look like and head off a potential problem.
Now, this is what your kitchen will look like.
Wow. Fantastic.
But they haven't linked the old hall and their new kitchen at all. A common mistake when extending, but I've got a solution.
Instead of this, I would do this. And put a window at the far end of the kitchen, so that the window that you have the other side of the staircase floods through this window and will light all this area of the kitchen.
Something we haven't thought about, actually.
Having seen that now, we need to go away and have a think about it and decide what's the right thing to do.
I'm hoping they go for it, because it will make the whole of the downstairs flow better. But while I'm here, Stuart reveals some news that could stop this whole build in its tracks.
The business that I've been working for has just been sold, and so unfortunately being made redundant. The main priority is really finding another job.
That's scary times.
It is a little bit. If I can't get another job, then we probably would need to sell the property and move to a smaller house.
Would you start the building work now if you knew that the redundancy was going to happen?
I don't think we'd start it this moment. The timing could be better.
I guess the problem is that with redundancy looming, ultimately every single penny going over, it's not coming in from anywhere, so that's a major issue.
With no money coming in and with no contingency, they need to stick to their budget more than ever. And the first place to look is that kitchen.
So how much is the one that you'd really like to get?
It's coming up to about £30,000.
Oh, the kitchen! Yeah. How much money have you got put aside for a kitchen?
We've got £8,000.
That's a third of the price. Whether they go for a reclaimed kitchen like the one I showed them or not, they must decide soon, because now both time and money are running out. I'm with two households trying to add value to their homes by extending and remodelling. In Liverpool, Vicky wants to play Rapunzel in her Grade 2 listed Windmill and is spending £100,000 converting it into a home. But there's been no progress on site and drastic action has been taken. Vicky has finally seen sense and has got someone practical in to help. Her mum, Ruth, has experience in building and planning.
I think Vicky's quite a romantic soul. I think she has visions of things, of how they'll be. I mean, I remember the day she came home with a glittery door handle, and I said to her, you're not going to have a building that needs door handles like that, Vicky. My level of input, it's all the practical stuff. Need to see if we can get the bath in this way.
I thought we decided against that.
Well, we're going to have to get a bath in there somewhere.
She's the practical yin to Vicky's dreamy yang. Exactly what Vicky needs to get things moving here.
Trying to keep her feet on the ground and find solutions for what she wants to do that are within her budget.
She's driving the build forward.
Carl?
Yeah?
We need a word about this roof. Oh, keep going. More. That's on the sill now.
Ruth's energy is keeping morale high and progress quick.
Paul is looking absolutely fantastic. What I want to know is, can you win teddy bears at the fair with those grabby things? So when does she need to order these French windows?
Well, we won't need them for another week or so.
It is exciting. This is like the first big delivery. This is the kitchen.
At last, Vicky is ditching her interior design dreams and concentrating on stabilising the fabric of this building.
So I reckon in about 2.5, 3 months I should be able to move in.
She's more realistic about what she can achieve and when.
It'll be freezing in the caravan in October, so I'm hoping that I'll have a nice little one warm room and a bed.
One habitable room is pretty much what I reckon she could achieve on her budget. And over the next 6 weeks, under Mum Ruth's control, this derelict shell begins to look more homely. In Surrey, Fiona and Stuart Allen are doubling the size of their 1970s house. 4 months into the build, it's time to break down the wall between the old house and the new extension. A new steel beams in place to support the weight, so Fiona can safely take out her aggression.
I always wanted to knock some wall down or other, so I could do with a bit more.
But there's a snag. This will be their new kitchen, but they still haven't actually ordered any units to put in it. They're not keen on the idea of sourcing solid wood carcasses from antique shops and online, and at the last minute decided to buy ready-made cabinets off the shelf from a local joinery firm.
So if we decided to go ahead, how long would it actually take?
If you wanted the kitchen tomorrow, I'll give it to you tomorrow.
With the time frame Fiona has left herself, it's a practical decision, and at £9,000 it's close to their £8,000 budget. I just hope the finish lives up to Fiona's designer kitchen dreams. For more information about this show or extending a house, check out my scrapbook at channel4.com/Sarah. When I first met Vicky 6 months ago, her windmill was windowless, damp and derelict. Now it may not look that different from the outside, but inside it has been transformed and is well on the way to being habitable. The walls are dry and no longer in danger of falling down. The rotten beams and floorboards have been replaced with brand new wooden floors and stairs.
Hello, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah, this is exciting. You're on the final run now.
We really are. I know we've been saying it for a long time, but we are.
This is still very much an ongoing project, but at this rate should be finished in 6 months. Vicky's biggest battle was getting this structure sound, and she's done it. The battens are in place for the stud walls, the rooms are taking shape, and the window openings are prepared, ready for the windows to arrive. She's always going to be a bit of a dreamer, but practical mum and imaginative Vicky have made a good team here.
When I first came here, it felt a little bit like you were wading through treacle trying to get started. And you've come on such a long way since then.
Now I've got a good team in place, it seems to be just flying up.
Do you have a very strong vision of what life's going to be like in here?
Yeah, I've been picturing it for so long. I've already picked out all the bedding and the lamps.
Oh, that's the important thing, the bedding. That's at this stage, I'm thinking, what you need is a scatter cushion.
When it's finished, the ground floor will be a multi-purpose space. Vicky plans to use it as her yoga studio, but it will also double as a dining room, with the kitchen in an extension off to one side. The ceiling will be removed, creating a double-height space featuring a mezzanine with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves.
This is going to be wonderful. So you'll have all this wall will be lined with books.
Yeah.
Which is really good for sound, actually. Acoustically, it's fantastic.
Oh, I didn't know
because
that.
it sucks up the echo. It's a great idea to line anything with books.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And good, it'll make it a cosier space.
At the moment, there's a ladder to reach the upper floors. But soon, a glamorous staircase will give access to the bedrooms above. Each floor will have a separate bathroom and bedroom.
You can really see how it's taking shape now. I think it is a wise move to have bathroom facilities on every floor, not access through a bedroom, because you don't want to go up or down 3 stories to find a loo.
Quite a few windmills I've been to see. When you come up, the stairs go through the bedrooms, and it doesn't really work. You just wouldn't want people walking through your bedrooms.
And actually, it is an unconventional building, and it is tricky to make it work. And it's working. It's looking going to look good.
I'm really impressed that Vicky and her architect have been so practical about their plans for the windmill, creating as many flat walls as possible. These are cheap to build and furnish, because she won't need to commission bespoke furniture. She's staying true to the original windmill, but also turning it into a successful modern space. But it's been a long and painful journey to get here.
This has been such a battle, hasn't it, really, when you think about it?
It really has.
And for 4 years, this building stood pretty much empty, with you almost paralysed by the amount of work to do and knowing where to start.
I knew when I bought it I wanted to completely remodel it, but having done a couple of one-bedroom flats up, I thought I had an idea what that would entail, and it's not the same in a listed building. I thought once I got my planning consent, which was the big fight, I'd just get a builder and then I'd move in and it would all be done. If I'd had the 4 years experience I've got now and I bought this again, it would be finished in 12 months.
So you'd have done it very differently.
Yeah.
So has it all been worth it?
You did have a budget of £100,000 to finish this off. Now, it's not finished, and it's not going to cost £100,000, is it?
No, it's not.
No. How much do you think it'll now cost?
In total, £150,000.
It would have cost Vicky an extra £450,000 to buy a house with the same living space as her windmill will have. If she manages to complete the renovations for £150,000, she'll have made a saving of £300,000 on moving.
I think it would be quite reasonable to assume its value when it's finished would be around £600,000. So you should end up with double what you spent on it. So £300,000 of equity sitting in your house.
Yeah, and it's a windmill.
And it's a windmill. I'm not that surprised that Vicky ran into a whole host of problems with this unusual project, but she's now well on her way to creating her magical tower. If she can stay focused, she should soon not only end up with a valuable asset, but also a perfect home to live in.
But will the Allen family end up with their dream home back in Surrey?
Yep, that looks spectacular. Did you imagine it to be as gorgeous as this?
It's pretty much identical to what we wanted.
Six months ago, Fiona and Stuart's home was a boxy 70s build in need of cosmetic surgery. It was given a dramatic facelift, and now it's almost unrecognisable.
Yeah, that looks spectacular.
The house has been transformed into a New England-style villa. They've ditched the 1970s tiles and replaced them with coordinating render and weatherboarding. The dated windows are now smart sashes. And their floor space has doubled to more than 2,000 square feet.
Hi!
Hi there.
This looks amazing!
Thank you.
That really is the most brilliant transformation. Your beautiful New England home has swallowed up the 1970s house, hasn't it? It's absolutely disappeared within it. Did you imagine it to be, in real life, as gorgeous as this?
We hoped it was going to turn out as well as the pictures and the drawings. And if it was 80, 90% of that, we'd be delighted. And it's pretty much identical to what we wanted.
So it's actually 100% what you wanted, not just 80%?
Exactly.
It is.
6 months ago, the inside of the house was boxy, featureless and lacking in personality. Now they've knocked out the back wall of the house and built a huge wraparound ground floor extension, creating a spectacular open-plan kitchen diner.
Goodness me. Well, it's so light and bright out here. So all of this is new, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The dark kitchen where the family squashed together to cook, work and play is now an airy space with doors onto the garden. There's space for food preparation, eating and socialising.
And the way the space works with the new extension and then blending through to the old part of the house works brilliantly.
Fiona has got her painted wood kitchen.
So is this your dream kitchen come true?
Pretty much, yeah. Yes, it's all that I want. We love the look of it, the colour, and just been really pleased with it all.
The kitchen looks great, and at £9,000, it's also amazing value. And the worktops are a great success.
Now, you were quite sold on composite or granite at the beginning of this project, weren't you, for a worktop? And you've changed your mind along the way.
The key thing that made the difference was actually seeing how good the other property looked with a wood surface, and also the fact that it was less.
Granite worktops would have set them back around £2,400. This wood block was just £1,450, a brilliant saving. They've kept a tight rein on their tight budget and done really well. But in some places, I think they might have missed opportunities to make things even better. I was always worried the hallway might feel a bit pokey, and it still does for such a beautiful house. But they've managed to give each member of the family their own space. Upstairs, Stuart and Fiona have a new master bedroom and ensuite, which means they don't have to queue for the family bathroom in the mornings. The girls have a playroom and the pet they were promised. And Stuart has his man cave next door.
This is now a really successful room where it really didn't work before. I think having a focal feature with a fireplace and the windows means that there's a direction that you're focusing in on in the room, which enables you to put the furniture in a more logical place and makes the whole room work better.
When the kids have got the playroom and they can make as much mess as they like in there, and we can enjoy entertaining friends here.
I've got to say, it does look very grown up. This is
No children allowed.
Are they allowed?
Children are banned from this room.
Are they?
Fiona and Stuart saved hard for 9 long years to fund this amazing build. And it's time to see if the sums add up.
Having waited 9 years to make sure you did this project when you were financially secure, then halfway through the build, you were made redundant, which must have been horrendous.
It was quite tough, and fortunately I've been able to find another job, which is a fantastic opportunity that I'm really, really excited about.
You had a £180,000 budget. Did you manage to stick to the budget?
Pretty much in terms of the original scope of the build. I mean, we took some decisions once I'd secured another job to be able to finish things properly. In total, we've spent £190,000.
It would have cost them £400,000 to move to their dream house round the corner. They've overspent on their original budget with final costs of £190,000. But they've still saved £210,000. And I've more good news.
You started off with this house that wasn't particularly popular or attractive, being worth about £600,000. I think it would be very realistic to say that it would now be worth around £900,000. That must feel pretty good.
Definitely.
How does it feel now it's all over? Can you quite believe it?
Really excited about how it's turned out and delighted that we've been able to get it done.
It's exactly what we wanted and we're so pleased with what we've got.
Fiona and Stuart have done amazingly well. They've created their dream home out of a 1970s shoebox. This is the sort of project which fuels my passion for property. You'd never guess in a million years there was once an ugly duckling where now stands this beautiful swan.
Next time, the Franklins are heading for some giant interior decorating mistakes.
The table you really want is going to be this size.
That is a ridiculous sized table.
That's my worst idea yet, I think.
And can I solve the Wriggler's storage problems?
What I'm suggesting is that you dig a great big hole